A classic Christmas story built on top of a classic love story. But is there something darker going on here? No, it's the classic sort of trope of Christmas and love and sacrifice, but there is a foreboding tale of loss in this short story, is there not? No, it's just a classic. It's from O. Henry. It's where we get the O. Henry twist. It is one of the premier American stories of love and Christmas. But there is something darker underneath, is there not? No, no, no. It's just love and Christmas, right? Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another short story discussion, which will appear in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being the short story discussion playlist. Number two being the Reading in a Winter Wonderland playlist. Videos in December 2024 that are meant to circle around the theme of winter, of ice, of cold, of snow, of Christmas, these types of things. But that short story discussion playlist is now over 100 videos strong. So if you have a favorite short story, consider going over there and checking out that playlist. It will be linked at the end of this video. So we have three sections of the video today: a So What Happened recap of the short story, a literary criticism section, and a writer's corner. So, what happened? James and Della Young are a couple, and they aren't going through the worst times, just worse times. Worse than they had been, and probably worse than some others around them. We open with Della having finally saved $1.87 with which to buy her hubby a Christmas present. And then she comes home and collapses on the couch, a little bit distraught. But she's been saving money to buy James a Christmas present. She just doesn't know quite what yet, or maybe she has some inclination. She observes herself in the mirror and reflects on the two things in which Della and James both take pride: his inherited pocket watch from his father and his grandfather, and her hair. Della then goes to the hair goods store and sells her hair for $20, gets it cut off, and sells it for $20. Then she goes to buy James's gift. She picks out a platinum chain for his pocket watch. She hopes he still thinks she's pretty despite the fact that she cut all of her hair off. But when he gets home, he just stares at her, and she's worried that he doesn't think she's pretty any longer and promises him, hey, the hair will grow back. I don't have it right now, but it grows pretty fast. Before she realizes that his countenance is not that of disgust or disappointment or disinterest, but something closer to confusion. And we figure out why in a moment. Jim takes a package out of his coat and tells her to open it. His present to her for Christmas is a very expensive set of combs, tortoiseshell, don't you know? She had wanted this set of combs for a very long time. She had observed it and wanted it from the window through which she had seen it. It's very expensive, mind you. With excitement, she gives James his gift. It is the chain for his pocket watch, and James lays down and smiles, not sure what to do. Why? Well, because he sold that pocket watch in order to get the money for her comb set. So we have some things to talk about in this short story. One question that I want to lead this off with a question. This is a good old-fashioned love story. This is a story of sacrificing for your lover and your lover sacrificing for you. One thing that I wonder, if we can take this into a larger context, do we still have this sort of short story in our society? Do these stories still pop up? Now, I don't think they really do, but there's that itself begs a question, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I think part of the reason that this type of dedication in a love story is not widely professed in today's world, or maybe not as widely professed as it once was, is that in our society we have very strong sense of individuality, rugged individuality, the American individuality, as it is so often cited. Um, but here's the question that this observation itself begs. Has perhaps this always been the case? We have this short story, this tale of dedication is enshrined in literature, has tested the times, and endured. I think this short story was published in 1906, so you're looking at almost 120-year-old short story. By the way, contemporary, basically with Hemingway. Um, Is this enshrined in literature because it was the norm or because it was rare, even at that time when relationships were seen perhaps as more sacred than today they are? Why do I ask that? How is that a fair question? Well, when you write a short story today, there might be some modern assumptions in it. There might be some of the regular day-to-day stuff, but you enshrine the exception to the rule. Those are the things that live on, the things which are the exception and not the rule, the things which are more rare. Is this a tale which was hailed at it in its day because it was sort of a reflection of society, something in which people had seen themselves, or because people saw this short story and said, hey, that's unique, right? So, um, I think that is you don't enshrine, you don't write the story of the mundane, you write the story of the extraordinary. Now, is the extraordinary in this tale the O. Henry twist at the end where he had sold his pocket watch and she had sold her hair and they had bought each other gifts for the things which they had sacrificed? Or is the exception the fact that Della and James are so dedicated to one another and willing to make these sacrifices? The next thing I want to talk about is this happens in the short story. We have Della going out to shop for that chain. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design, properly proclaiming its value by substance alone, and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all good things should do. Now, this is an irony which baits interpretation. This irony here is saying that the gifts they bought for each other are actually the ornate, not the meretricious, or are the meretricious ornamentation, not the substance. However, their relationship itself has the substance. Their relationship themselves, the relationship itself, is based on the love and the dedication that they have to one another, meaning that these fancy gifts that they bought for one another are actually that meretricious ornamentation, the fancy combs, the shiny pocket watch chain. Their gifts are meant for the ornamental aspects of the other. Her hair is long and beautiful. Her hair is that by which others recognize her. It is ornamental. His pocket watch, she talks about him checking his pocket watch and being uh, drawing the ire of those around him, the jealousy of those around him. Why? Because it is ornamental. It is not the sturdy stuff upon which the character of James is built. So, her making this observation about the chain for the pocket watch being beautiful in itself is actually ornament. She is not recognizing in that moment the baser stuff of their relationship, the sturdy stuff on which their relationship is built. So that is a beautiful little passage in here from O. Henry that sort of baits us into interpreting these gifts and the basis for those gifts versus the substance of their relationship. The next thing worth talking about, I think, in this short story, the term O. Henry twist. This is it. I mean, maybe you've heard the phrase. I think this has gone perhaps to the wayside as well. O. Henry. Something happens and someone exclaims, "O. Henry." That's what this is about. A deep irony, a deep sacrifice that was made only to later be proven as kind of useless. O. Henry was the original M. Night Shyamalan for these reasons. Now, the next thing we're talking about here is number 4 there on Lit Crit, the poop end. What do I mean by that? Well, James gets the poop end of the stick. So Della's hair, by all accounts, is going to grow back. Della will, be able to use her combs eventually. James is just walking around with a platinum chain. He does not have a watch with which he does not have a watch to attach it. He doesn't have a watch to which he will attach it. To which he will attach? Anyway, he's just walking around with a chain until he earns the position necessary to replace that pocket watch. So, her hair, she doesn't have to do anything for her hair to grow back. She just has to keep breathing. She has to keep up the same type of nutrition that she did, the same type of regimen with hair products that she had, but it will grow back. He does not have his pocket watch any longer. He sacrificed generations of work. Now, her hair comes from generations of DNA, from the inherited good genes that give her such illustrious hair. His pocket watch is gone. He pawned it. It will be bought. We have every reason to believe that someone will happen upon that pocket watch and buy it because it was, as accounted in the story, so nice. So, despite the fact that they have both sacrificed, James has sacrificed something which is maybe irreplaceable, at least irreplaceable in the sentimental value that came from his father and grandfather. Now moving into the writer's corner. We have in this short story, doing a page number is not going to help because I have a different book probably than where you found it, but we get this passage. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard his steps on the stair away down on the first flight, and she turned white for just a moment. She had a habit of saying silent prayers about the simple everyday things, and now she whispered, "Please God, make him think I am still pretty." Show, don't tell. O. Henry tells us that she had the habit of saying silent little prayers. What would have been better than this is when she bursts through the door at the beginning of the story and lays on the couch, she says, "Please, God, let me find the perfect gift for $1.87 before coming to the realization that she cannot do it." If, when she sells her hair, she says, "Please, God, let this woman offer me an extraordinary price for my hair." If we had had more iterations of this little prayer, pardon me, it would have been they would have been moments in time where we recognize her character and we recognize this little bit from her. That is show, don't tell. If we have more prayers, more of these little prayers from her, we would have been ready for this prayer, and it would have had a heavier impact when the irony of their gift exchange takes place. The last thing is a matter of trust. Trust your reader. I'm going to read you the passage with which we end this short story. We have the exchange. We have James telling her, let's just eat dinner. And then the Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones, possibly bearing the privilege of exchange in case of duplication. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in the last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts such as they are wisest. Everywhere are wisest. They are the Magi. Now, this is an indication that it's the flat out practice by O. Henry of not trusting the reader. Not trusting the reader to interpret that title with the story and come to the same conclusion that he has laid out in said story. This is not the biggest sin, but I mentioned Hemingway earlier. Hemingway trusts his reader not to moralize at the end of the story. Here's the issue with that. However, O. Henry here is building a more talented reader. When the reader gets to that point in the short story, he or she is reflecting upon the rest of the story with the title in mind. Hemingway, for example, skips all of that. This leads to, I'm a bigger fan of skipping all of that, but I have spent a lot of time building the tools of a reader. So this end passage from O. Henry kind of puts me off as a reader. And it seems diminutive to say that it seems perhaps heavy-handed and judgmental for me to say that I don't like that part of the short story. Leave it off. The truth is, the art of reading is dying. The art of reading is trailing off. The art of reading is something that has been replaced by the art of watching movies, by the art of taking in TikTok, by the art of YouTube. So, is there a need for these little moralizations at the end of short stories now? Is there a need for clearer cut poetry than all of that which has come since basically the days of O. Henry? From all of that that has come since maybe the quote-unquote modern era of literature, by which readers are left to their own devices. Readers are maybe... So I'm a big fan of leaving to interpretation. If we did not have that moralization at the end of this story, what message would we take from the short story? But I don't think that it helps future generations of readers to have no texts by which they can build their interpretive powers. If, for example, you found this short story and you were not the type to really take the title into consideration for the short story, maybe you would have just moved along and not made that reflection from the title onto the story. You would have gotten to the end and not made the biblical connection of the Magi And it would not have built your interpretive powers in the way that this short story does, with that bit of moralization planted at the end of this story. That is all I have for this short story discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, hitting the subscribe button, make sure that you stick around for more literature in the future. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.